Some of our best customers are our enemies.
Jerry Lewis achieved extraordinary success during his 9 decades of life, becoming one of the most recognizable comedians in entertainment history before his passing in 2017 at the age of 91. Millions knew him as the energetic performer who could make audiences burst into laughter with little more than a facial expression or a perfectly timed stumble. His films became classics, his television appearances captivated generations, and his influence on comedy stretched far beyond Hollywood. Yet behind the applause, the standing ovations, and the public admiration was a man whose personal life was marked by loneliness, heartbreak, and emotional wounds that never fully healed. The man who spent a lifetime making others laugh often struggled to find happiness himself.
My father taught me about the importance of respecting your audience.
Join us as we uncover the sad and lonely life of Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis was born on March 16, 1926, in Newark, New Jersey, into a family deeply connected to show business. His father worked as a vaudeville entertainer, while his mother was an accomplished pianist who accompanied performances. Entertainment surrounded Jerry from the very beginning, and as a young boy, he frequently traveled with his parents, watching rehearsals, backstage preparations, and live performances. The stage became familiar long before he ever stood on it himself. But while show business filled his childhood with excitement, it also brought painful sacrifices. His parents were constantly traveling from one engagement to another, leaving Jerry behind with relatives for weeks or even months at a time. Instead of enjoying the stability most children need, he experienced long stretches of separation from the two people he wanted most. Those early years planted a deep sense of loneliness that many biographers believe remained with him throughout his entire life. One of the most heartbreaking stories from his childhood involved his bar mitzvah. According to numerous accounts, his parents missed the ceremony because of work commitments. Whether unavoidable or not, the absence left a lasting emotional scar. For a young boy, one of the most important milestones of his life passed without the presence of his mother and father. Friends later suggested that Jerry carried those feelings of abandonment well into adulthood, constantly seeking approval and affection from audiences that he had struggled to receive at home. Growing up without consistent parental guidance also exposed Jerry to situations far beyond what most children experienced.
Don't walk out on that stage believing they'll be there because you're there. Bull.
He later claimed that he lost his virginity to a burlesque dancer when he was just 12 years old, a startling revelation that reflected how unusual and chaotic his upbringing had been. Surrounded by adult performers from an early age, he became fascinated not only by their lifestyles, but also by the energy and excitement of live entertainment. The colorful world of burlesque theaters became almost like a second home. By the age of 15, Jerry had little interest in finishing school. He dropped out of high school and threw himself entirely into performing.
Well, then you have to play that game and say to them, well, you may have a point, and now you do exactly as you choose to do, but let them think you're doing it their way.
Night after night, he worked local burlesque clubs, refining the exaggerated facial expressions, physical comedy, and rapid-fire routines that would later become his trademark. Every performance taught him something new about timing, audience reactions, and how to command attention. Even as a teenager, he possessed an almost obsessive desire to perfect every laugh. Everything changed in 1946 when Jerry met Dean Martin. The chemistry between the two men was immediate and unmistakable. Dean's calm, effortless charm balanced perfectly against Jerry's explosive, unpredictable comedy. Dean played the cool, straight man, while Jerry unleashed a whirlwind of slapstick antics, creating a partnership unlike anything audiences had seen before. The duo quickly became one of the hottest acts in New York City. Crowds packed theaters to watch their performances, and word of their remarkable chemistry spread rapidly across the entertainment industry. Producers soon recognized that Martin and Lewis had something truly special, opening the door to Hollywood. Over the next 7 years, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis starred in 16 feature films together.
They're there because they want to see you, and you better treat it with infinite dignity.
Their first movie, My Friend Irma, in 1949, introduced their unique dynamic to film audiences, while their final collaboration, Hollywood or Bust, in 1956, marked the end of one of entertainment's most successful comedy partnerships. Along the way, they became international superstars, earning enormous salaries and attracting millions of devoted fans. Yet, enormous success often brings enormous pressure. As Martin and Lewis climbed higher, tensions quietly grew behind the scenes. Each man increasingly believed he was the true reason for their success. Professional disagreements slowly became personal resentments, and the friendship that had once seemed unbreakable began to fracture. When the partnership finally ended, it was anything but friendly. Dean and Jerry went their separate ways, and for the next 2 decades, they barely spoke to one another.
And you go out on that stage for one purpose. It's to entertain that audience.
According to one of Hollywood's most enduring stories, Dean once told Jerry that the only reason he had stayed in the partnership was for the money. Whether those exact words were spoken or not, Jerry believed them, and they devastated him. He had admired Dean not only as a colleague, but as a close friend and someone whose approval meant the world to him. Losing the partnership felt like losing a member of his own family. Despite the painful split, both men proved they could succeed independently. Dean Martin became one of the biggest entertainers in America through his music, films, and television career. Jerry Lewis also flourished, starring in and directing a string of memorable comedies, including The Bellboy and The Nutty Professor. His reputation as an innovative filmmaker continued to grow, with many praising his willingness to experiment behind the camera as well as in front of it. But Jerry's remarkable creativity came with an intense obsession for perfection. He constantly searched for ways to improve every performance, every camera angle, every joke, and every movement. That relentless pursuit often elevated his work to another level, but it also affected his personal life in unusual ways. Friends and colleagues recalled eccentric habits that reflected just how meticulous he had become. He reportedly refused to wear the same pair of socks twice. He was also said to organize every dollar bill in his wallet by consecutive serial number before carefully folding them into his pocket in a precise order.
Some of the best things I ever did was when I had them believe it was their idea.
These rituals may have seemed odd to outsiders, but they revealed a man who desperately sought control in a life that often felt emotionally chaotic. His determination to give audiences everything he had eventually came at an enormous personal cost. In 1965, while performing on stage, Jerry suffered a devastating accident that severely injured his back. The injury left him in constant pain, and doctors prescribed powerful pain medication to help him continue working. What began as legitimate medical treatment gradually evolved into a dependency that would become one of the darkest chapters of his life, setting the stage for years of physical suffering and personal struggle that few fans fully understood. The turning point that reshaped Jerry Lewis's life came in 1965 during what should have been another unforgettable performance.
It wastes time, though, doesn't it?
Yes, it's time-consuming and it's unfortunate, but people in the theatrical world are supposed to be neurotic.
Always determined to give audiences more than they expected, Jerry attempted an ambitious double cartwheel off a piano while performing live on stage. The stunt went horribly wrong. Instead of landing safely, he crashed hard onto his back in full view of the audience. The theater fell silent as it became immediately clear that this wasn't part of the act. The injury was devastating, and although he continued performing, his body would never truly recover. Doctors prescribed the powerful painkiller Percodan to help him manage the constant agony caused by the accident. At first, the medication served its intended purpose, allowing Jerry to keep working despite his injuries. But as months turned into years, dependence quietly took hold. What began as legitimate medical treatment evolved into a painful addiction that lasted for 13 years. The pills eased his physical suffering, but they also intensified many of the emotional struggles he had carried since childhood. By the early 1970s, Jerry's addiction had reached an alarming level. He was still married to his first wife and raising a large family, yet privately he was battling depression, anxiety, and dependency on prescription medication. In one of the darkest moments of his life, Jerry later admitted that in 1973 he placed a gun in his mouth while under the influence of Percodan. He seriously considered ending his life before hearing the voices of his children playing somewhere down the hallway. Their laughter snapped him back to reality, and he lowered the weapon. It was a moment he rarely spoke about, but one that revealed just how close the beloved comedian had come to tragedy. The addiction nearly claimed his life in other ways as well. Years of relying on powerful pain medication contributed to severe health complications, including a stomach ulcer that became life-threatening. Doctors were able to save him, but it served as another reminder that the physical pain he had tried to escape was slowly destroying him from the inside out. Throughout his life, Jerry struggled with emotional and psychological issues that he rarely allowed anyone to fully explore. Friends encouraged him to seek professional help, but he consistently resisted.
We can with what we have to work with. And they really believe we're looking to sabotage them. We're not. We want to do the best for them.
Ironically, he believed that confronting his deepest emotional wounds might dull the very qualities that made him funny. In his mind, the anxiety, obsessions, and insecurities that complicated his private life were also the fuel behind his greatest performances. Jerry often explained that when he stepped onto a stage, everything changed. The loneliness, the pain, the fears, and the emotional scars temporarily disappeared beneath the laughter of an audience. For those brief moments, he felt whole. He once suggested that every painful experience he had endured became worthwhile the instant he heard a theater erupt with laughter. Comedy wasn't simply a career for Jerry Lewis. It was his escape. Unfortunately, the same inner demons that fueled his creativity often damaged the people closest to him. The cracks in his personal relationships became increasingly visible over the years, affecting both his marriage and his relationship with his children. Those struggles were mirrored in one of the most controversial creative decisions of his career. In 1972, Jerry directed, co-wrote, and starred in a film unlike anything audiences expected from him. The project was titled The Day the Clown Cried, and its premise shocked nearly everyone who heard about it. Jerry played a circus clown imprisoned in a Nazi concentration camp who was ultimately forced to lead Jewish children toward the gas chambers while trying to comfort them during their final moments. The concept immediately generated enormous controversy. Many questioned whether such a tragic subject should ever be approached through the lens of a performer best known for slapstick comedy. Production itself became troubled by financial disputes and legal complications, preventing the film from ever receiving an official release. Over the decades, The Day the Clown Cried became one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. Countless movie fans wondered whether the film was truly as disastrous as rumors claimed, or whether it had simply become trapped in legal limbo. Before his death, Jerry donated the only known complete copy to the United States Library of Congress, with restrictions delaying public access for many years. Although there has long been speculation about when audiences might finally see it, the film remains one of the most infamous, unreleased projects in cinema history. One of the few people who has actually viewed the film is comedian Harry Shearer, who admired Jerry Lewis while growing up. After seeing it, Shearer bluntly stated that the movie lived up to its infamous reputation. His comments only added to the legend surrounding a film that decades later remains largely unseen by the public. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more fascinating stories about Hollywood legends, the triumphs they celebrated, and the private struggles they often tried to hide from the world. Long before Jerry Lewis became one of America's biggest stars, he was simply an ambitious 18-year-old performer trying to build a career. During those early years in New York, he met a young singer named Patty Palmer, who worked in many of the same nightclubs and entertainment venues. Their romance moved incredibly fast. After knowing each other for only 2 months, the couple decided to marry, believing they would build a lasting life together. At first, their marriage appeared to reflect the classic American dream. As Jerry's fame exploded, Patty stood beside him while they raised a growing family. Together, they welcomed 6 sons: Anthony, Scott, Christopher, Gary, Ronald, and Joseph. From the outside, they appeared to have everything: success, wealth, and a beautiful family. Behind closed doors, however, the reality was far more complicated. Jerry himself openly admitted years later that he had been repeatedly unfaithful during the marriage. He confessed that whenever another woman showed interest in him, he often pursued the opportunity. Fame placed him in constant contact with actresses, singers, dancers, and admirers, and he acknowledged that he rarely resisted temptation. Among the women Jerry was rumored to have had an affair with was Marilyn Monroe. According to long-standing Hollywood stories, the two shared a brief romantic relationship while both were among the biggest stars in America. The relationship reportedly ended badly, creating lasting tension between them. That uncomfortable history is often cited as one reason Jerry declined a starring role in the 1959 comedy Some Like It Hot. Because Marilyn Monroe had already been cast in the film, Jerry reportedly preferred not to work alongside her. Instead, he recommended fellow comedian Jack Lemmon for the part. The decision turned out to be one of the biggest missed opportunities of Jerry's career. Some Like It Hot became an enormous critical and commercial success, and Jack Lemmon received an Academy Award nomination for his performance. According to Hollywood legend, Lemmon never forgot Jerry's recommendation and jokingly thanked him by sending him a box of chocolates every year after the film's release. Jerry and Patty remained married for decades before eventually divorcing. After the marriage ended, painful accusations began to emerge from within the family. Patty and all 6 of their sons publicly described Jerry as an abusive husband and father, offering accounts that painted a dramatically different picture from the cheerful entertainer audiences knew on screen. The most heartbreaking chapter came with the death of Jerry's youngest son, Joseph. In 2009, Joseph died at the age of 45 from a drug overdose. Reports that followed claimed Jerry refused to pay for his son's funeral expenses, a decision that drew widespread criticism and further highlighted the deep divisions within the family. Jerry's son, Gary, later spoke publicly about Joseph's death, arguing that years of emotional pain and the difficult relationship with their father had contributed significantly to his brother's struggles. Whether everyone agrees with that assessment or not, the family's public accusations revealed a tragic reality. The man who had spent his career bringing laughter to millions often found himself unable to maintain peace and happiness within his own home, leaving emotional wounds that would continue affecting those closest to him for decades. In the years following Joseph's death, Jerry Lewis admitted that he carried an enormous amount of guilt. Those close to him said he rarely spoke openly about it, but when he did, it was clear the loss had affected him deeply. Yet in a pattern that had followed him throughout his entire life, he once again turned to the stage as his refuge. Jerry explained that whenever he performed before a live audience, the weight of his grief seemed to disappear, if only for a little while. Laughter remained the one place where he could temporarily escape the emotional pain that never truly left him. That need for escape had always been at the heart of Jerry's comedy. Looking back on his career, he once joked that he had simply made a living doing all the things children would normally get punished for doing in school. Behind the humor, however, was a deeper truth. His comedy allowed him to release years of anxiety, loneliness, and emotional turmoil that he struggled to confront anywhere else. For Jerry Lewis, performing wasn't just entertainment, it was therapy. Perhaps that explains why he found it nearly impossible to retire. Even as his body became weaker and his health steadily declined, he continued making appearances whenever he could. The applause gave him something that doctors, medication, and even success could never fully provide: a brief sense of peace. Jerry remained married to Patty Palmer until their divorce in 1980, bringing an end to a marriage that had lasted more than 3 decades. 3 years later, in 1983, he married former dancer Sandy Pitnick. Although the couple never had biological children together, they adopted a daughter, Danielle, and Jerry appeared determined to begin a quieter chapter of his personal life. During his later years, he also became widely recognized for his charitable work. For decades, Jerry served as the public face of the Muscular Dystrophy Association, hosting annual telethons that raised hundreds of millions of dollars for research and patient care. His tireless fundraising efforts became one of the defining achievements of his later career. However, in 2010, the organization unexpectedly parted ways with him. Neither side offered a detailed public explanation, leaving fans to speculate about what had happened behind the scenes. By then, Jerry's health had become increasingly fragile. The back injury he suffered in 1965 continued to cause chronic pain for the rest of his life. But it was far from his only medical challenge. He battled diabetes, endured multiple heart attacks, and faced numerous other health complications over the decades. One of his earliest heart attacks occurred during the filming of Cinderfella, demonstrating just how long he had been fighting serious medical issues while continuing to entertain audiences. In his later years, Jerry also developed pulmonary fibrosis, a progressive lung disease that made breathing increasingly difficult. Treatment with prednisone helped manage the illness, but came with significant side effects, including substantial weight gain that dramatically changed his appearance. Fans who had known him as the energetic, elastic-faced comedian of earlier decades were saddened to watch his physical decline, though his passion for entertaining never completely disappeared. On August 20th, 2017, Jerry Lewis passed away at the age of 91. His death marked the end of one of the longest and most influential careers in American comedy. He left behind a remarkable legacy of films, television appearances, groundbreaking comedy, and charitable fundraising that touched millions of lives. However, even his final wishes reflected the complicated relationships that had defined much of his personal life. Jerry left the majority of his estate to his second wife, Sandy, and their adopted daughter, Danielle. His will specifically excluded his first wife, his 6 sons from that marriage, and their descendants, underscoring the painful family divisions that had remained unresolved until the very end. Jerry Lewis leaves behind a legacy unlike almost anyone in Hollywood history. To millions, he will always be remembered as the fearless comedian who could fill theaters with laughter through his unmatched physical comedy and boundless energy. Yet behind that unforgettable smile was a man haunted by childhood loneliness, personal loss, addiction, family conflict, and emotional struggles that fame could never erase. His story serves as a reminder that even the people who make the world laugh the hardest are often fighting battles that no audience ever sees. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more untold stories about Hollywood's biggest legends. We'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What is your favorite Jerry Lewis movie? And were you surprised by any part of his remarkable life story? Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.